dear listeners. Welcome to Speak Up. If this is your first time here, we're really glad you found us. And if you've been with us before, thank you so much for coming back. It truly means a lot. We're here to create a space where learning English feels real, human, and something we do together. If you enjoy what we do, we'd love it if you could subscribe. It's a small action, but it helps this podcast reach more people around the world who want to grow, just like you. So thank you in advance for being part of this with us.
Today, we're talking about a question that's quietly sitting in the back of so many people's minds. Will AI replace my job? Because honestly, AI isn't just something in science labs anymore. It's in the apps we use, the websites we visit, even the decisions some companies are making about people. And that can feel unsettling. This episode is about facing that feeling, not with fear, but with clarity. We're not here to add noise or drama. We're here to slow down and talk about what's actually changing and what that means for you. So thank you in advance for being part of this with us.
And it's a really important conversation because for most of us, our jobs are more than just paychecks. They're part of who we are. And when something threatens that, even quietly, it affects how we feel about our future. So we're going to take you through this slowly. What's real, what's exaggerated, and what you can actually do moving forward. No panic, no pressure, just two friends helping you understand what's going on in a way that feels honest and simple.
So wherever you are, walking to work, cooking, studying, we invite you to take this time for yourself. You don't need to rush. Just stay with us. You'll not only learn about the truth behind AI and jobs, but you'll also hear real language, real emotions, and ways to think clearly when things feel uncertain. We're in this together, and we're really glad you're here. Let's begin.
You know, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. A couple of years ago, AI felt like something far off, like something researchers were working on quietly in the background. But now, it's right here. It's helping people write emails, answer questions, even create music and videos. And that's not just interesting, it's also a little strange, because it's happening so fast that most people haven't even had time to process it. I think there's this quiet tension around us, not loud panic, just a slow, creeping question in the back of the mind. What does this mean for me? And the thing is, most people don't really talk about that out loud.
Yeah, I feel that too. It's like no one's running around shouting that the robots are coming, but you can sense something changing. The conversations are shifting at work, at home, even online. It feels like more and more things are being handled by machines. And sometimes I catch myself hesitating, like, should I be worried? I've noticed it in small ways. The writing app I use now finishes my sentences. It's helpful, sure, but also a little unsettling. Because if the tool is thinking for me, where do I fit into the picture? I think that's the quiet worry a lot of people are carrying. They're not sure what's real or what's next.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people don't even realize they're carrying that worry until someone names it. It's subtle. You hear a news story or you tried a new app that does something impressive, and for a moment, there's this flicker of discomfort. But we push it down, right? Because life is busy. But over time, it builds. That uncertainty becomes background noise. And I think that's why this conversation matters. Not to scare people, but just to acknowledge that it's okay to feel unsure. You don't have to have it all figured out. Just naming the feeling, that small, silent fear, is a kind of relief.
Absolutely. And it's not just about jobs being taken away, it's about identity too. People are quietly wondering, if AI can do what I do, then what am I supposed to do? That's a big question, and it deserves space. It's okay to not have the answer right now. I think what's important is just noticing the question is there. I've had moments where I'm editing something and the software suggests changes that actually sound better than mine, and for a second I feel replaced. And I don't think I'm the only one. So instead of pretending we're fine, maybe it's healthier to just sit with that feeling for a moment without judgment.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Not rushing to fix the fear, but just understanding it. Because when we ignore it, it grows louder. But when we face it calmly, we realize we're not alone. So many people are walking around with these quiet questions. Is my work still valuable? Am I still needed? Will I be okay 5 years from now? And honestly, those are fair questions. That's why this episode isn't about tech talk. It's about being human in a time of change. And if you're listening right now and you felt even a little bit of this worry, that means you're paying attention. And that's a good thing.
Exactly. And I hope this space gives people permission to feel what they're feeling without panic, without shame, because we're all figuring this out in real time. It's okay to not have the answers. What matters is that we're willing to ask the questions and that we do it together. That's why we're here, to create a space where the conversation feels honest, grounded, and a little bit comforting. So take a deep breath, stay with us, and let's keep going.
You know, when people hear the word AI, they often picture robots walking around doing human jobs, but that's really not what's happening in most places. What AI is doing right now in the real world is a lot quieter than that. It's showing up in things like auto replies in customer service, automatic calendar bookings, scanning through tons of data and sorting it faster than we ever could. These are flashy machines. They're background systems that handle repetitive, structured tasks. And that can sound intimidating, but when you look closely, these are tasks, not full jobs. That distinction matters.
Yeah, and I think that's something we don't talk about enough. People hear that AI is taking over, but most of the time, it's just stepping in to make certain tasks more efficient. It's not replacing entire people, at least not in the way the headlines sometimes make it sound. Like in customer service, AI might answer common questions, but when something goes wrong, when someone's upset or confused, that still needs a human. Machines can handle patterns, but people handle emotions, tone, complexity. And that's not something you can program perfectly.
Exactly. And here's where the confusion usually happens. People assume that if AI can do one part of a job, it means the whole job is at risk. But in reality, jobs are made up of many layers. Some parts can be automated, sure, but many parts can't. There's a difference between automation and replacement. Automation supports work. It doesn't always eliminate it. Sometimes it even frees up people to do the more meaningful parts of their role, the stuff AI can't really touch. So yeah, it's changing the landscape, but that doesn't mean everything's disappearing.
That's such an important point. Not every task equals a job. And I think once people understand that, it takes a little bit of the pressure off. Like, I use scheduling tools that automatically book meetings for me. That's AI. But that doesn't mean my role disappears. It just means I'm not spending time on repetitive clicks. Instead, I get to focus on thinking, planning, creating, the human side of things. Just because a machine can answer questions doesn't mean it can handle people. There's still so much value in being able to connect and respond in real time with empathy.
Right. And honestly, most of the panic around AI comes from misunderstanding how it actually works. People hear automation and immediately think job loss, but it's more nuanced than that. We've had automation for decades, from ATMs to self-checkout lanes, and yet people still work in banks and grocery stores. What's happening now is just faster. That speed can be uncomfortable, but it doesn't automatically mean destruction. It means we have to adapt and also get clear about what parts of our work are truly human.
And I think this is where staying informed really helps. When you understand what AI is doing and what it isn't, you can breathe a little easier. You realize it's not about fighting against technology, it's about learning how to work with it. Maybe it handles the dull stuff. That's not always a bad thing. The important part is not to let fear take over before we have the full picture. The more we understand, the more power we have to shape how we move forward. calmly and with clarity.
You know, when people talk about AI and jobs, there's often this idea that everything is at risk. But actually, if we slow down and look closely, it's mostly the repetitive and predictable tasks that are changing first. Things like data entry, scanning forms, scheduling meetings, those are built on clear rules, and AI is really good at following rules. But life and work isn't always that clean. What's important to remember is that not every job is just a list of tasks. There's more to it than that.
Exactly. I was thinking the same thing the other day while using a chatbot for customer support. It could give me answers, sure, but it couldn't understand that I was stressed or in a hurry. That made me realize in so many jobs, what really matters is the human reaction, the empathy, the judgment in uncertain situations. Machines might be efficient, but they still can't truly care. And that care is a big part of so many roles we often don't even think twice about.
That's a powerful point, Priya. Think about a nurse helping a patient or a teacher calming a nervous student. You can't write a script for that. Not fully. And even if you could, would it feel the same coming from a machine? I don't think so. What makes those roles special isn't just the action, it's how it's done and who it's coming from. AI might assist, sure, but replace that human connection? That's a stretch.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of people misunderstand what AI is actually doing. They hear automation and imagine an entire career disappearing overnight. But really, it's more about certain pieces of a job shifting, not the whole thing vanishing. And in many cases, these shifts actually open doors for more creative, thoughtful work. That's something we should talk about more.
Definitely. And there's another layer to this too, trust. Think about situations where people need reassurance or where stakes are high. Would you want a machine making that final call? Probably not. Because sometimes it's not about whether the task gets done. It's about the trust people place in someone they know is present, listening, and thinking about what's best for them. That's not something you can program.
I love that you said that. It's so true. We often overlook how much people rely on human instincts. That quiet understanding, the gut feeling, the ability to adjust in the moment. Machines can calculate, but they can't truly read the room. And that's why, even in a world where AI is growing fast, people still have something incredibly valuable to offer. So if you're listening right now and feeling unsure, just know that your humanness still matters. A lot.
You know what's been on my mind, Priya? This idea that our jobs are just sitting there, waiting to be taken by AI. But that's not quite how it works. What I've seen is people who stay curious, who don't freeze when something new comes along, they tend to adapt. And that adaptability, that's gold. It doesn't mean you have to master coding overnight or become a tech genius. Sometimes it's just being willing to try out a new tool instead of rejecting it. That small shift makes you relevant even when things change fast.
Absolutely. I think people often feel like they need to know everything to stay safe in their job, but honestly, it's more about attitude. I was recently asked to test out a new AI scheduling tool at work, and my first instinct was, oh, one more thing. But then I paused and thought, what if this helps me? And funny enough, it did. I finished things quicker and had more time to focus on the parts of my job that really matter. It's not about being perfect. It's about being open.
That's such a good point. I think the myth is that AI is coming to compete with us, but in many cases, it's just another tool like a calculator once was. People who work with AI, who figure out how to use it as a support system instead of an enemy, those are the people who stay ahead. I know someone in customer support who started using AI to summarize long emails before responding. It didn't take away her job. It just made her sharper and quicker and, honestly, more valuable.
Yes, that's the part that often gets missed. It's not always about speed or efficiency. It's about freeing up the human side of what we do. Like when I'm not buried under repetitive tasks,
I can focus on helping clients feel heard. That's something no machine has truly mastered, making someone feel understood. So, yes, tech is changing things, but if we lean into what makes us human, we've still got something very powerful to offer.
Exactly. And I think that's the shift we all need, from fear to forward thinking. Instead of asking, what will AI take from me? Maybe we should be asking, what can I do that AI can't? And then build from there. It's not about fighting AI. It's about proving what it can't replace. That mindset can reshape your entire career path, even in small daily ways.
Yes, small steps matter. Staying curious, being willing to explore a new tool, asking why instead of saying no. Those are things that make a job feel more resilient. And it's comforting, too, knowing that we're not helpless in this wave of change. We have choices. We have strengths. And when we play to those, we stay not just employed, but empowered.
You know, when we look at everything happening around AI, it can feel overwhelming. But if we zoom out, this isn't the first time humanity has faced big changes. I mean, think about it. The Industrial Revolution, the Internet, even the smartphone. Each one brought fear, excitement, disruption, and eventually adaptation. AI is just the next chapter in that story, and it won't be the last. What comforts me is this. We've done this before. We've navigated unknowns. We've adapted, and we've grown.
That's so true, Ryan. I think sometimes we expect ourselves to have all the answers immediately, but no one really does, not even the experts. And honestly, that's okay. What matters more is our mindset. Are we willing to learn? Are we open to change? Because when you're open, when you stay curious instead of scared, that's when you grow. That's when you move forward without losing yourself in the noise. It's not about being perfect. It's about staying present.
Exactly. And I think a big part of that is giving ourselves permission to not be certain. We live in a world that rewards fast answers, strong opinions, quick reactions, but real understanding, that takes time and patience. When you let go of the need to control everything, you start to notice more. You start to listen more deeply to yourself, to others, to what's really happening. That's how we stay grounded while the world moves around us.
And it's also how we stay human. We're not meant to process life like machines. We feel things, we reflect, we stumble, and then stand up again. Living with change isn't about being unaffected. It's about allowing yourself to feel, but still move forward. That's strength. And honestly, every generation has had to find that strength in different ways. We're just writing our own version of the same story, learning how to live in the in-between.
That phrase, the in-between, I really like that. Because that's where most of life happens, right? In the messy middle, between certainty and confusion, between fear and hope. AI just happens to be the thing stirring that up right now. But we all have the ability to stay steady, to breathe, to ask good questions, and keep showing up. And maybe that's what really matters. Not knowing everything, but being here, right now.
Yeah, I think that's the heart of it. It's okay not to have all the answers. It's okay to be unsure. What matters is that we're paying attention, that we're not tuning out or shutting down. Growth doesn't come from having it all figured out. It comes from staying engaged with curiosity, with humility, with heart. If you're listening to this and feeling unsure, that's okay. You're not alone. We're all figuring it out, one moment at a time.
Thanks so much for spending this time with us today. We know AI can feel like a big, overwhelming topic, but our hope is that this conversation helped clear a bit of that fog. We're not here to give all the answers, but to create space where questions are welcome. Because when we talk about change, especially something as powerful as AI, it's not just about tech, it's about people, trust, and choices. If you stayed with us till now, that means you're choosing to stay aware, and that really matters.
Yes. Thank you truly for choosing to spend her time with us. We know your time is valuable, and we try our best to make it worth every minute. The world is shifting, sometimes quietly, sometimes loudly, but we believe in staying calm, thoughtful, and open. If this episode gave you even one new idea or moment of clarity, then we've done our job. Keep asking, keep listening, and remember, you don't have to have all the answers, just the courage to stay curious. We'll see you next time.